The skies of Hellar burned. The sun had barely risen over the shining towers of Hellar Prime, the capital of the Helari Empire, when the sky cracked open. At first it looked like a storm. Storms didn't move like this. They didn't flash green, and red didn't bend the clouds like a blade slicing flesh. The people, below a ligget, tall Helari with long limbs and glowing eyes, stared in silent confusion. Then the first Vraek ship broke through the clouds. It didn't glide. It slammed hard, like a beast from a forgotten nightmare. More followed 10. Then, 100 massive black vessels shaped like claws and teeth. Dropping toward the surface like meteors. Without warning, the attack began. Plasma fire lit the skies. Buildings crumbled in seconds. Streets turned red with ash and fire. Screams filled the air, but they were drowned out by the unending, mechanical roar of the Vraek Dominion's war machines. The Helari Empire. Rulers of 30 systems, the second oldest civilization in the known galaxy, was falling. A call into the void inside the capital's crumbling command tower. High Marshal Veteran Lear stood in front of a flickering holomap. Red dots swarmed the display. Entire fleets gone. Defense stations offline. Ground cities dash overrun. He slammed a trembling hand on the console. Send the distress call. To everyone, anyone. A young officer, bleeding from a head wound, nodded and opened the channel. Their last beacon went out into the stars, transmitting to every known system. This is the Helari Empire. We are under attack by an unknown force, requesting immediate assistance. We cannot hold. The message repeated, again and again. Every 5 seconds they waited. Nothing came. The galaxy turns away. Hours passed. Then a single reply came. From the Aran Coalition, longtime trade partners of the Helari, we regret to inform you that our fleets are not available at this time. We are monitoring the situation. Our thoughts are with you. Next came the Threx Syndicate, known for their powerful mercenaries. This is not our war. We advise surrender or escape. Do not contact us again. One by one, the Helari's allies turned their backs. The Vraek were too powerful, too brutal. Their methods were feared. No one wanted to be next. The Helari screamed into the void, but the void stayed silent. Who were the Vraek? The Helari didn't know who the Vraek Dominion truly were. No one did. They had appeared just 6 years earlier, far from the core worlds, wiping out a mining colony on the edge of the galaxy. Then another and another. Each time, they left nothing behind. No survivors, no broadcasts, no signs of peace. And they never responded to hails. The Vraek didn't want land. They wanted fear. Some said they were machines. Others said they were a forgotten race that had once been enslaved by the old empires. Some whispered they were demons wearing metal. Whatever they were unstoppable. The last beacon in the capital was falling. Fires rose from every district. Emergency craft tried to escape the planet's orbit, but Vraek interceptors chased them down like prey. Even escape was a lie. Only one small outpost remained operational, Station Kara 9, orbiting the Helari moon. Inside, a single engineer named Tolar Ven had one last idea. One last gamble. He opened a private communication channel. One buried deep in the Helari archives. One that hadn't been used in nearly 120 years. Transmit to Sol System. Human frequency Alpha Red. Encryption code Old Pact. The AI paused. Human contact protocol is inactive. Do you wish to proceed? Tolar hesitated. Then he whispered, we have no choice. The humans were feared for a reason once, over a century ago. The humans of Earth had joined the Galactic community. At first, everyone was curious. They were small, strange, and wild. Their planet had been torn by war for most of its history, but somehow they had survived, even thrived. Then came the Zarn conflict, a brutal border war. The Helari and humans had fought side by side, and the galaxy learned what humans were truly capable of. They didn't fight fair. They didn't follow tradition. They burned enemy food supplies. They hijacked enemy AI. They made weapons that screamed. And they never ever surrendered. The war ended in months. Zarn were extinct. After that, the Galactic Council grew nervous. Humanity wasn't evil, but they were too dangerous. Too different. Quietly, the Council recommended isolation. Trade stopped. Alliances faded. Humanity vanished from the stars. Until now. The message was sent. Toller stared at the terminal. As the signal sent across the stars, a single message. To the humans of Earth. The Helari Empire is under attack. We request immediate assistance. We are out of time. He didn't know if they would hear it. He didn't know if they even still existed. But he remembered the old stories, the way the humans had fought. It's the way they had looked at fear and smiled. Maybe, just maybe. Whirled in silence, the Helari Empire burned for 3 days. Cities became ruins. Taluses became ash. The skies, once full of stars, now glowed red with fire. From the broken towers of Helari Prime to the last defense base on the moon, the Helari watched their end arrive, and still, no one came. One last transmission, just as hope had fully died. A new signal reached Station Kara-9. It was short, cold, spoken in English. Message received. Stand by. That was it. No fleet. No details. No promise of help. Toller then listened to the playback on repeat. Stand by. Was it real? A joke? Or a ghost? No one knew, but 6 hours later, something tore out of deep space. Near the edge of the system, the station's sensors exploded with red alerts. A human ship had arrived. Not Diplomat's warrior, it wasn't sleek. It wasn't elegant. The human vessel was massive, black, covered in thick armor plating, no windows. No bright lights, just one name painted in white across the hull. US Retribution. It didn't request permission to dock. It didn't broadcast. Greetings. It simply began scanning the planet below. Then, it opened its launch bays, and from its belly, smaller ships emerged, fast, sharp, and silent. Each one bore the same symbol, a blood-red hand on a silver field. The humans had answered the call, but they hadn't come to talk. They had come to fight. Ambassador Tolar expected silence. Instead, Earth responded with one question. What do you need us to destroy? The message was brief, cold, but it was the first real answer anyone had given. And it came from the most feared species in the galaxy. The message from Earth inside, the flickering lights of Station Kara-9. Tolar Ven stared at the incoming data feed. The human ship EOS Retribution had entered low orbit over Helari Prime. It was still silent. No visual communication. Number. Audio. Then finally, the response came. A simple digital file. It decrypted in seconds. We received your signal. Confirm enemy forces. Confirm target zones. Confirm survival status of planetary command. Then what do you need us to destroy? There were no greetings, no protocol, just business. And in that moment, Toller felt something he hadn't felt in days. Hope. What the Helari remembered, the younger Helari officers didn't understand the gravity of that message. But Tolar did. He had read the old reports, stories buried in archives, classified. After the Zarn conflict, stories about what the humans had done, entire enemy fleets gone in a day. Cities turned to glass. Enemy leaders assassinated with poison delivered by drones. They had no honor in battle, because to humans war wasn't about honor, it was about winning. The Council watches in fear across the galaxy. News spread fast. The Galactic Council, a group of 12 powerful races, met in emergency session. We've received proof that the humans have responded to the Helari distress signal. A Threx delegate hissed. They must not interfere, growled a Luran diplomat. If they engage the Vraek, they'll bring war to every system. The Council debated, argued, threatened, but in the end, all agreed on one thing. The humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and once involved, they would not stop. And yet, none of them dared send a warning to Earth. They were afraid inside. The UHS Retribution commander Juno Reyes stood at the center of her war room. Eyes locked on the surface map of Helari Prime, it was chaos. The Vraek had carved deep into every major continent. Civilian zones were overrun, command centers wiped out, defenses down. Target data confirmed, her XO said. She gave a short nod. Send in Ghost Squad to the capital ruins. Air support to follow. And tell the fleet to prepare for full orbital assault. No hesitation. No mercy. This wasn't a rescue mission. This was a retaliation. Helari C, the humans up closes, the first dropships launched from the human vessel. Tolar watched from the station's viewing deck. He had expected soldiers. In bright armor like Helari defense troops, or maybe sleek drones. But what he saw shook him. The humans dropped in black, matte armor-scarred and scorched from past battles. Helmets hid their faces. Their movements were sharp, efficient, inhuman. When they landed, they didn't shout, they didn't salute. Predators through burning streets clearing Vraek. Checkpoints in total silence. The Helari survivors hiding in ruins were too scared to come out. One child whispered, "Are they machines?" "No," her mother answered, watching the humans tear through enemy lines. "There's something worse." First engagement, the Vraek had never faced humans before. Their warriors were tall, insect-like creatures armed with plasma, blades and living rifles. Against most species, they overwhelmed with speed and terror. Against humans, they died. Fast Ghost Squad moved through the city like shadows. Every corner was cleared with cold precision, grenades with chemical payloads, mini drones sweeping rooftops, snipers picking off leaders before they could speak. And for the first time, the Vraek pulled back. They had learned fear. The message from Commander Reyes later that day. A human transmission reached Station Kara-9. It was the first time anyone had seen her face. Commander Juno, reassured, scarred, with cold eyes, looked into the camera. "We have secured 3 city zones. Survivors located. We are extracting your wounded. We will continue operations until the Vraek are neutralized. Do not interfere, and do not thank us. This is what we do." The message ended. Tolar didn't know whether to cry or salute. The Council reacts back on the Council world of Varys. Panic spread. The humans were not just involved, they were winning. "How many did they send?" asked the Aaron delegate. "Only 1 ship," someone whispered. Silence followed. 1 ship. And they were turning the tide. "They're not here to help the Helari," an old diplomat muttered. "They're here to make a statement." One survivor's words in the ruins of Heller. Prime, a Helari commander named Yaron Dax, was rescued by a human unit. He had been trapped under rubble, watching his men die one by one. The humans cut him out with a plasma torch, lifted the wreckage like it was paper, and carried him to safety without saying a word. Later, as he lay in a field hospital, Yaron gave an interview. "I thought we were finished. Thought no one would come. But then I saw them, those black armored monsters. And I knew we were no longer alone." The first Helari scout ship saw them before anyone else. Massive, silent vessels shaped like predators. They didn't arrive in formation. They didn't broadcast peace. They came like a storm. And nothing the Helari knew about war prepared them for this. The darkness in orbit, the sky above Heller Prime, was filled with black smoke, drifting debris and flashes of plasma fire. But then, something new arrived. Not sleek, not beautiful, not even organized. One by one, human warships dropped out of FTL. Above the burning planet, jagged, bulky shapes, bristling with weapons and deep scanning arrays. There were no polished hulls, no bright flags, no welcome beacons, only cold, armored giants. Crawling with external weapon pods and thick defensive plating, the Helari had expected help. What they got looked more like executioners. These ships weren't built to travel. They were built to survive. The Helari fleet officers aboard Station Kara-9 had gathered at the observation deck, speechless. "Are they damaged?" one asked, pointing at the massive UHS Warborn, its hull scorched and dented. "No," said another. "That's how they're built." The human ships looked like they had crawled through 100 wars and never stopped to clean up. The largest, called the UHS Leviathan, had entire sections welded on with mismatched metal, scars from battles long past. But its cannons, stretching the length of a city block, were active, primed and pointed downward. The fleet that fought to the death shocked the Helari. Most wasn't the size of the ships, it was the crew count. Each human warship carried thousands of soldiers, but no diplomats, no cultural envoys, no translators, just officers, pilots, engineers, combat specialists, drones, AI. Every ship in the fleet was a weapon, and nothing else. Human AI. Cold, efficient, unforgiving. Aboard the UHS Iron Wake, a Helari officer was granted limited access to one of the ship's A's. It identified itself as Unit Ares-7 when asked for its mission parameters. It responded without hesitation. Primary, neutralize Vraek presence. Secondary, secure Helari civilian zones. Tertiary, prevent external interference. Quaternary, send a message. The Helari ambassador blinked. What message? That this is what happens when humanity returns. The Vraek had never fought humans. But they had watched, recorded, waited now, with the human fleet in orbit. The Vraek did something they had never done before. They paused. They stopped pushing deeper into Helari cities. They pulled ships out of the lower atmosphere. For the first time since the war began, they sent out a warning beacon of their own. It was intercepted by the UHS Leviathan. The humans analyzed it and ignored it. The power of silence in the capital ruins of Helari Prime. Helari survivors had gathered in bunkers. They heard the distant roar of engines, but they heard no speeches, no flags, no promises. Just a low, steady hum in the skyships, drifting overhead like massive beasts in the dark. And when the human drop pods began falling once more, Helari didn't cheer. They braced. Because now they understood. The humans didn't come to be heroes. They came to finish a fight. First contact with a human admiral from Station Carinine. Tollerven was granted a live feed with Admiral Sorin Voss, commander of the Leviathan group. He was old by human standards. Skin was weathered, his eyes tired, but his voice was calm. Direct Toller tried to thank him, tried to express Helari gratitude, tried to explain the horror they had faced. The Admiral simply said, "We know. That's why we're here. It's going to get worse before it gets better." Then the feed cut off. The plan hit hard. Leave a scar in a high-orbit war room aboard the UHS Warburn. Human officers discussed strategy. They didn't talk about negotiation. They didn't talk about territory. They only talked about damage. "We strike their central command node here," said one officer. "Orbital bombardment on this ridge. Full saturation. No survivors. Then we take the prison sectors. Quick, loud, no mercy." There was no debate. The humans weren't just fighting the Vraek. They were making an example. A new kind of Fear 1 Helari fleet captain. Watching from orbit, said quietly, "We begged for help, and what we got was something the galaxy tried to bury. Something it was too afraid to keep around. But now, I understand why. The Vraek fortress had stood for centuries. Its walls had never been broken. Its defenses had never failed, till the humans arrived. It lasted exactly 14 minutes. Vraek stronghold, unbreakable on the southern continent of Helari Prime. Carved into the cliffs of the Malok Ridge stood a vast Vraek command fortress. Black spires pierced the sky. Shield domes shimmered across the surface. Anti-orbital cannons tracked every ship within range. This was the nerve center of the invasion where the Vraek issued orders, stored fuel, and tortured prisoners. No species had ever broken through it. The Helari tried. The Threx had tried once. Even automated drone strikes had failed. But none of them were human. Operation Iron Wake begins on the bridge of the UHS Warburn. Commander Juno Reyes gave the order. Begin the strike. 10 seconds later, the sky lit up. From orbit, 3 human warships launched a coordinated salvo of kinetic rods, solid metal projectiles moving at hypersonic speed. No explosives. No sound. Just impact. They struck the outer walls of the Vraek fortress with the force of mini-nukes. Towers collapsed in an instant. Shields blinked and failed. Fire poured through the cracks, and then the real attack began. Drop zones. Red hundreds of human drop pods screamed through the atmosphere like meteors. Inside them, ghost units, shock troopers, mech suits, and autonomous combat drones. The Helari, watching from distant ridgelines, thought it was a meteor shower, but these stars didn't fall. They landed with purpose. The ground quaked. The sky went black with smoke. And the humans went to work. Vraek resistance meets Earth steel Vraek. Warriors, known for their aggression and fear tactics, rushed to respond. They poured out of bunkers, howling in their shrill, insect-like language, but they weren't facing diplomats. They were facing Earth's veterans men and women trained in zero-gravity combat, urban assault, underground warfare, and scorched earth tactics. The first Vraek lines fell in minutes. Their second wave collapsed within an hour. FLAM, ETHR, OW, ERS, shock charges, plasma cannons. Human soldiers moved like predators. No wasted shots. No unnecessary movement. Everything was fast, cold, ruthless. 14 minutes later, silence at exactly 14 minutes and 37 seconds. The fortress stopped transmitting. No power signatures, no life signs. The Vraek command node, once the heart of the invasion, was now a burning crater, a message left behind inside. The remains of the command center, human troops left behind a device. It broadcasts one sentence on repeat in every major galactic language. We will not wait to be invited. We will not ask twice. We are here to end it. The Helari reaction from orbit. The Helari fleet watched in silence. A general whispered, "They destroyed it." Another replied, "No. They erased it." Tollerven stood on the command deck of Station Carronine, eyes locked on the footage. He had seen his cities fall. He had seen his friends die. He had seen fear crush his people. But this was the first time he saw the enemy afraid. What the survivors said in the bunkers below the former fortress? Helari prisoners were found alive. When human medics pulled them free, they didn't speak. They trembled. One survivor, an older Helari named Corinne Jukes, finally spoke through cracked lips. The Vraek said no one could stop them. But they ran. When they saw the humans, they ran. A new kind of war after the strike. The human fleet did not rest. They didn't hold meetings. They didn't broadcast victories. They sent a list of new targets. Vraek fuel depots, relay stations, cloning vats. Each was eliminated. Systematically. Without warning, without mercy. The Vraek Dominion, once so feared, was on the defensive for the first time. A warning to the galaxy, the Galactic Council. Watching from afar, held emergency discussions, but no one dared speak against the humans. The footage from Helari Prime was already spreading across the network, ships burning, command posts destroyed, Vraek retreating. Whispers moved through every station, every channel. The humans are back. They're worse than the legends said. And they're fighting for the Helari. The humans' rules of war captured Vraek broadcast sent to the council was leaked to the public in it. A human voice was heard giving orders. No quarter, no warnings. This is not a rescue. This is justice. What the Helari finally understood, the Helari had begged for help. They had cried out for peace. But what they got instead was human wrath. And now, as Tollerven watched new waves of dropships descend on Vraek positions, he whispered the words. Written long ago in the forbidden archives of Helari, if ever the stars grow dark, call the humans. They will bring the fire. The Helari heard what the Galactic Council said. The humans are worse than the Vraek. But the Helari didn't care. Because while everyone else watched from afar, the monsters were saving their people. The broadcast that changed everything was meant to be private, a secret meeting among Galactic Council. Members leaked intentionally or not into the civilian networks. The Vraek were being pushed back. System after system. Human fleets moving like a wildfire. And during the meeting, a voice later identified as the Aaron ambassador said, "The humans have no honor. They are worse than the Vraek. They don't fight wars. They erase enemies. They are monsters." That phrase spread like wildfire. Within hours, it had become a trending phrase across the galaxy. Hashtag human monsters. Ri. Civilians react inside the ruins of Helari Prime. Survivors heard the broadcast. Their faces were dirty. Their homes were gone. Their families shattered, but above them flew human dropships, hauling in food, water, and medical gear. And soldiers in black armor stood at their gates, keeping the Vraek away. So when the Helari heard the humans are monsters, they looked around and whispered, "Good monster." That's fine. Inside the command deck of the UHS Leviathan, Admiral Seren Voss watched the clip. A junior officer looked uneasy. "Sir, the council is turning public opinion against us." Voss didn't flinch. "Good, we're not here to be liked. We're here to end this." Later that day, a human soldier was caught on helmet cam laughing after a Vraek fortress fell. A Helari journalist asked him, "Do you feel like a monster?" He took off his helmet, wiped the blood from his face, and answered, "You called us monsters a century ago.
Ow, you beg for us.
So yeah, call us monsters. So make sure you call us when you need saving." The Vraek are cornered. The Vraek once unstoppable were now being hunted. In less than 19 days, 43 strongholds had fallen. Entire battalions surrendered, something the Vraek were never known to do. Some even detonated their own ships to avoid capture. Why? Because they were afraid of what the humans would do. Not because of war crimes, but because humans fought like nothing they'd ever seen. Fast, dirty, merciless, and always smiling. The Helari began to learn. Young Helari cadets, rescued from academy ruins, started shadowing human field units. They saw a new kind of war, one that ignored tradition, one that made no speeches. A cadet named Leonari Thaz wrote in her journal, "We studied courage in theory, but the humans live it in every breath. They are terrifying, but I think they are the reason I'm still alive." Human propaganda. No, human reality. The Galactic Council tried to launch a propaganda campaign against Earth. They aired footage of scorched battlefields, human soldiers walking past wreckage without emotion, but it backfired. People across the galaxy began asking, why do the monsters show up when no one else will? Why do the feared ones bring food and rescue? Survivors. Why do the humans bleed for a world that isn't theirs? From fear to loyalty, Helari governor named Mekhl Var, once outspoken against human involvement, was saved during a siege by a single human unit. He later appeared on a Helari news stream and said, "I was wrong. We feared them because we didn't understand them, but now I do. They don't fight to be feared. They fight because when no one else will, they will." The new slogan, "Let the monsters come across Helari territory." The phrase caught on, painted on walls, etched into burned ground, written in blood by soldiers refusing to surrender. Let the monsters come. It no longer meant fear. It meant salvation. The Vraek tried to talk for the first time since the war began. The Vraek Dominion sent a message. Not to the Helari, not to the Council, to the humans. It was simple. Let us retreat. We will leave this world. The humans responded, no. You had your chance. They wore it with pride. The Helari built a statue in the ruins of one of their cities, a human soldier in battle armor, helmet in hand, standing over a crushed Vraek banner. On the plaque, you called them monsters, but they were the only ones who came. The Vraek prison complex was a fortress. No one had ever escaped. Even the Helari had stopped trying. But one human walked in alone. No army, no backup. And somehow, she walked out with 200 Helari survivors behind her. The war changed that day. The prison no one talked about, hidden deep beneath the red sands of Hellar's southern pole. The Vraek had built Black Site Theta-9. The Helari called it the Bone Vault. It wasn't just a prison. It was a place of breaking, torture, psychological warfare, experimentation. Captured Helari leaders were sent there to disappear. No one had ever escaped. No one had ever been rescued. No one even knew exactly where it was until the humans found it. The mission. Impossible. The intel came from a Vraek transmission cracked by human AI inside the command center of the UHS Retribution. The mission was reviewed. Location confirmed. Defenses, 3 plasma towers, 2 Vraek battalions, minefield perimeter. Survival rate for assault, less than 6%. The human officers debated orbital bombardment, but Commander Juno Reyes said, "We can't level it. There are still Helari inside." Her solution? Send one person, who was Commander Reyes. Before the war, she had been a special operations ghost, the kind of soldier whose name didn't exist in any database. She was known only by one codename, Ashfire. Her record was sealed, her face rarely shown, but those who served with her knew the stories. She didn't need a squad. She didn't need orders. She just needed a direction. The walk alone Reyes landed 40 kilometers from Black Site Theta-9. No. Transport. No. Escort. Just a pack full of explosives, a camo cloak, and a plasma blade. The Vraek never saw her coming. She didn't sneak in. She walked through the main gate. Every camera went black. Every cum line cut. The Vraek soldiers screamed warnings. Then, they screamed in pain. Inside the vault, the surviving Helari prisoners described it later. The lights cut out. Alarms blared. Then silence. One said, "We thought it was the end." But then we saw the doors open. A small human woman standing there, holding a Vraek commander by the throat. Another said she didn't say a word. She just handed me a weapon and said, "Can you still fight?" Hours later, the impossible happens at exactly 0200. Human High Command received a signal. "This is Reyes. Black Site Theta-9 is down. 212 Helari survivors en route. Vraek resistance neutralized. Bring transport." Command center went silent. One officer asked, "How many did she take with her?" "None." The galaxy watches an off footage of the freed. Helari weak, broken, but alive, spread like fire. And walking in front of them, covered in blood and ash, was Commander Reyes. No speech. No salute. She just walked past the cameras and disappeared into a waiting ship. The turning point that moment broke something in the Vraek. They weren't fighting machines. They weren't fighting just soldiers. They were fighting people who did the impossible. Morale among Vraek troops plummeted. Some refused to go on duty. Some fled. Some detonated their own posts rather than risk meeting her. And across Helari space, the chant began. Ashfire lives. Ashfire fights. Saves. A hero with no face, the council demanded her identity. The humans refused. They sent only a reply. She's one of many. What the survivors said, one freed Helari officer gave a public statement. "You were buried. Forgotten, the galaxy turned its back, and one human came alone. You call them monsters. I call her the reason I'm still breathing. Message to thee." Recap next morning. Human forces dropped a single item outside the Vraek High Command post on Helari Prime. A black flag. On it, a silver flame. And beneath it, 2 words. "She's coming." The Vraek sent one last message. Leave or die. But Earth replied with a single word. No. Every human ship lit up its engines. The skies of Helari Prime shook. The final battle wasn't about borders. It was about a promise. You do not break a world under humanity's watch. Vraek's final offer. Surrender or burn after their growing losses. The Vraek High Commander broadcasted one final message to Earth and its allies. Withdraw. Surrender the Helari. We burn every last system they inhabit. It was a threat backed by force. Over 60 Vraek warships had been pulled from other systems. Converging on Helari Prime. The message ended with a chilling line. There will be no survivors this time. Earth's response. One word. The United Human. Coalition replied in less than 30 seconds. Their transmission wasn't long. No speeches, no pleasantries, just a single word. No. And with that, every human warship in Helari space powered up. The stars dimmed behind them. The battle begins. The skies above Helari Prime became fire. The Vraek unleashed everything. Dreadnoughts. Plasma hives, bioswarms, cloaked assassins in for every weapon they unleashed. Humans met it with ruthless precision. Orbital drones cut through enemy flanks. AI-controlled gunships predicted Vraeking movements before they made them. Human drop squads landed straight into enemy strongholds and tore them apart from within. The Helari joined the fight for the first time in the war. Helari forces trained by humans took to the field in full strength, side by side with humanity there. Armor was patched, their weapons second-hand, but their hearts were full. A Helari soldier screamed into his come, "We don't run anymore. The monsters taught us how to fight." Commander Reyes returns. At the height of the battle, Vraek Command detected a single, unregistered ship breaching their flank. It didn't respond to hails. It didn't show up on ID scans until the name lit up in their systems. Ashfara Commander Juno. Reyes had returned, and she wasn't alone. 36 ghost ships followed human Black Ops units, silent and deadly. They didn't fight for glory. They fought for vengeance. Vraek flagship falls the climax. Came when Reyes personally led the strike team onto the Vraek flagship, Bloodwake, while human fleets hammered its shields. Reyes and her unit breached the hull, tearing through elite guards. Inside, she found the Vraek High Commander and delivered Earth's final message. "You gave the galaxy silence. Now, your turn to hear nothing but the void." She detonated the ship's core manually. The Bloodwake exploded in orbit, visible to every soldier. Below, hold the line. With their flagship gone, the Vraek fractured, but they still outnumbered human Helari forces. One Vraek commander called in reinforcements from another system. Thousands more ships were on their way. Earth had one final play. The line, a literal formation of every remaining ship from Earth and her colonies, front to back. No second wave, they called it. The line that does not break. The Vraek didn't expect this. The Vraek had always relied on fear. But fear didn't work on humans. And now, standing beside them, the Helari feared nothing either. The battle raged for hours. Humanity lost hundreds of ships, but they didn't move. They didn't bend. They held the line, the turning point for the galaxy, crossed the stars. Billions watched the battle unfold live. Galactic citizens from species that had stayed silent watched. In awe, the feared humans were not just monsters. They were guardians. They bled not for conquest, but for principle. The line holds as the final Vraek reinforcements arrived. They met a wall of fire, fury, and unbreakable will. The Vraek ships began turning back. Some surrendered mid-dash flight. Some self-destructed to avoid capture. And in that moment, the war ended, not with a treaty, not with a negotiation, but with a clear message. Humanity stands between you and the darkness, and we do not move. The Vraek were gone. The battlefield was silent, but no one cheered. No one raised a flag, because the galaxy realized something it had forgotten. Freedom has a price, and only the humans were still willing to pay it. The silence after victory smoke curled from the shattered hulls of ships. Helari Prime's skies were clear but filled with wreckage. The once mighty Vraek fleet now drifted lifeless. Humans didn't celebrate. They buried their dead first. Across hundreds of worlds, silence held. The galaxy waited to see what humanity would do next. They expected demands. They expected power grabs instead. Earth sent out a simple message. The war is over. We're going home. The galaxy reacts from neutral systems to distant colonies. Species that had stayed silent during the war now spoke. The Trell Confederacy issued an apology. The Dromery offered reparations to the Helari. The Gel Orders proposed a universal declaration of post-war protection. But most surprising of all, the Helari themselves rejected the title of empire. Instead, they founded something new. The Helari Restoration Accord with human guidance. The Helari formed the United Helari Worlds, a peaceful council representing every Helari system. And at their first official meeting, they made a motion that passed unanimously. Humanity will be honored as founders of our freedom. The ashes of their fallen will rest beneath our cities. Their names will never be forgotten. A human refusal Earth declined any permanent authority. President Alondra issued a galaxy-wide broadcast. We didn't come to lead. We came because no one else did. Came to remind the galaxy what it means to stand up. Human ships began leaving Helari space, not as conquerors, as friends. The Ashfire legacy commander Reyes, once called a ghost, vanished again. Some say she retired. Others claim she walks unknown worlds, watching from the shadows. A statue was built in her honor on Helari Prime, not of her face, not of her weapons, but of a single human hand reaching down to lift a Helari child. At the base it read, "She came when no one else did." The children of the Wharton years later, children across the galaxy learned about the war, but they didn't study dates. They studied choices. Why did humans answer when others stayed silent? Why did they fight for strangers? What made them different? And the answer was written into the new galactic education system. Humans fear no evil, because they refuse to be it. Final transmission, the last scene shown in your episode is a recovered recording from the battlefield. A young Helari soldier's helmet cam, just after the Vraek fled. He walks through burning wreckage. Past broken ships, he turns the camera to a single human Marine standing alone. "Why did you help us?" he asks. The Marine helmet off replies, "Because someone has to." He turns away, limping into the smoke, fade to black.